Entering a new market in a foreign country requires a multifaceted and region-specific approach. I'm MarketingSherpa reporter Courtney Eckerly here at the MarketingSherpa Media Center at IRCE, and with me to talk about that topic, I have Jose Nino, who is the Director of E-commerce Marketing and Customer Acquisition for Perry Ellis International. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Well, to start off, just tell us a little bit about Perry Ellis.
Sure, when people hear Perry Ellis, they typically don't understand that we're actually nearly 30 brands. Of which 5 we have direct-to-consumer websites for, such as Original Penguin is one of our brands, Callaway Apparel, Cuba Vera, Rafaela, and others to come this year.
And you're in 16 countries, is that correct?
That's right. We have actually a UK business, and for Latin America we have 16 subdomains covering 16 regions in that area. Yep.
So throughout that process of growth, what are some of the strategies that you have developed for expanding into a foreign market?
Sure. Well, we looked at APAC, obviously, and the cost of entry there is very, very high, one which we'll eventually have to absorb. But we evaluated other regions that are of interest to us, and after looking over traffic patterns in Google Analytics, we noticed that in Latin America in particular, we had very, very high numbers of traffic and very low numbers of revenue. The proportion was way off, and for us that identified an opportunity that the language barrier is not allowing people to make the transaction because there was a lot of traffic. So we figured that's a region that we should probably localize sooner than later.
Okay, so how did you go about localizing and solving that issue and bringing those numbers up?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are a lot of different technology solutions available. Some smaller firms just rely on Google Translate as a free service. The problem there is you have a lot of contextual inconsistencies that sometimes pop up. So we looked at different technology platforms and decided to work with translations.com. They've been a great partner, and we're using their one-link solution via a dedicated proxy, which acts as an intermediary between the customer and our website and leverages translation memory. So all of this translated content dynamically during the session. So you have a user that pulls up our site, and in the middle we have this database that is feeding all of the translated elements real time.
Okay, so you've taken a region-specific approach that is more is dedicated to really conveying your message and your value in that area.
That's right. Yeah, especially in Mexico. Mexico's an area where we have a decent amount of doors already. Perry Ellis and Cuba Vera are featured in Liverpool, which is the Macy's of Mexico. So we've chosen a geotargeting strategy where we really focus our marketing campaigns around pockets where we either have department store penetration or typical retail store penetration. So we're choosing specifically the radius around doors in Latin America to help us build the little brand equity that we obviously have there, which is much less than we have here domestically.
So you have a lot of unique subdomains to keep that and a lot of assets. How do you balance all of those?
Yeah, that's always very, very complicated. It's especially tricky when we have very frequent source site changes, which is the USA site, especially in holiday. The homepage and the categories always change almost several times a day, or 2 or 3 times a day. So we work with the translations.com team, and we share a server or a drive, and we have a staging and a production environment in Demandware. Whenever we have something new in the staging environment, we share these assets via this drive with the team, so they always have 12, 24 hours to translate the content, the graphic content, as well as any new text content in the staging environment. Typically, before we go to production, the staging environment is ready 12, 24 hours beforehand, and that gives the translations.com team enough time to prepare these assets ahead of production.
And what's some advice that you would give to marketers who are maybe expanding into a foreign market for them to really understand the people that they're and the customers that they're going to be talking to and how they can convey the value of
Well, initially, I think companies need to realize that it's not an overnight success story. You really have to have a long-term vision towards profitability. It won't be there overnight. But to us, what's attractive about new regions such as Latin America is that Forrester, for example, notated that comp growth will actually be higher in Latin America than APAC. Obviously a much smaller region, but when you look at the long-term opportunity with that comp growth, it's a very persuasive argument to have a strategic direction in that region. Also start small, don't bite off more than you can chew. We actually created a subdomain strategy for way too many of our brands, and it really overwhelmed us. So start small, focus on the big picture, and have a very long-term objective towards the goal.
Okay, great. Thank you so much,
My
Jose.
pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And if you would like more tips, tactics, and case studies, please visit MarketingSherpa.com.